And welcome to the March 28th, 2024 meeting of the Concord Historical Commission. We are officially calling the meeting to order. My name is Alan Bogosian, and what I'd like to do is a roll call of the commissioners that are present.
Excuse me. Nancy Nelson.
Melissa Sawfield, I guess I was muted, sorry.
Michael Capizzi is here.
Chelsea Cataldo.
And Alan Bogosian. So it looks like we have a quorum, right? We have a quorum. So we're officially called to order. We have a public hearing tonight. The first order of business is demolition review of 67 Elsinore. And who is representing Elsinore?
Mark White from Bentley Building Corp and AWMW.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you, Ellen?
Good.
Mike Paratori is also with me. So,
Yeah, I'm here.
So for the record, 67 Elsinore Street shows an estimated build date of 1876 for the existing dwelling. It has about 1,144 square feet of living space, and there's an outbuilding on the back that's approximately 192 square feet. The building department shows no updates or permits that have been pulled. However, the back porch appears to have been recently added, along with some storm windows and aluminum siding. Very little, if any, period details are present on the exterior of the house. Another thing to keep in mind is that the current structure is in nonconformity with the zoning bylaw, as it sits only 12 feet off the side property line. The purpose of raising the existing dwelling and shed to make room for a significantly more efficient single-family home, offering a smaller carbon footprint. With historic structures exempt from both the stretch codes and the base energy codes, a new home can be built to modern, advanced building and energy codes, significantly improving the framing, insulation, and penetration materials. Will be paired with the electric heat pumps for heating and cooling, electric hot water heaters, and induction cooking to meet the Massachusetts future targeted greenhouse gas limits, as well as the town of Concord's. With respect to the neighborhood, the new home will match the New England colonial architecture of nearby Elsinore Street properties, whose original dwellings were raised and new dwellings built over the recent 20 years. A couple of these structures include 57 Elsinore, which was done in 2014, 78 Elsinore in 2002, 109 Elsinore in 2013, 112 Elsinore in 2015, 122 Elsinore in 2013, and 273 Elsinore in 2024. The current structure really doesn't have any contributing elements to the historic streetscape. It's not on the National Register for Historic Places, nor is it eligible. So at that point, I think I would just close our presentation and open it up to the board.
Commissioners? Any input?
So, hi, Mark. I don't disagree with anything you said or what Ann Clifford wrote. I know this neighborhood has been under a lot of transition in recent years. And I really mourn the loss of these neighborhoods with more modest housing that was occupied by people who were workers, and Irish and Italian guys and Scandinavian people too. But I recognize that it's a heavy burden when so many larger homes are being built, and an owner of a smaller place might be restricted significantly in realizing a profit from the sale of their house, especially when compared to the many houses that have already been rebuilt. So I just think it's a sad thing in Concord that we're losing these traditional lower middle class neighborhoods. That's all. And hello, how are you?
Well, speaking similarly, I feel the same way. I think the opportunity to have saved this area of Concord, the so-called fairgrounds, was probably, I don't know, 30 years ago. And it's changed dramatically. The other thing, when we evaluate a property, thank you for telling us what you plan to do, but that really doesn't bear on a decision we should make. It strictly on the merits of the building itself. It's not on the National Register. It's not on our survey of historical properties. As far as I know, it's not associated with a particularly significant person in the history of Concord, nor architecturally is it terribly significant. And thirdly, it's not within 150 feet of a federal or locally designated historic district, which is the criteria we use for evaluating whether or not to allow a demolition permit. So I feel as Nancy does, but I would allow this to happen.
Jesse?
I agree. I think based on what Anne wrote, the home is not historically significant, and therefore I would not vote to find that it's preferably preserved.
Michael?
I agree. I
have,
agree.
I'm sorry, I don't know which one, when Michael you were talking to. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I agree.
Okay, and I feel the same way. Mark, the house, if you're looking at the 67, the house to the left, is that a new construction?
Yes,
That's a new one too?
correct.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree with everyone. You know, I hate to see the old Concord houses go, but I get it. So I don't object to it at all. So I guess the thing to do is make a motion or.
Well, okay, I move that to allow the property at 67 Elsinore Street, I guess the owners to be allowed to obtain a demolition permit for this property.
Any seconds?
Anne has her hand up. I think she's
Oh.
gonna clarify the
Oh,
motion.
sorry, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Sorry, Ann.
Okay, so I think you just need to take the vote on whether it's preferably preserved or not
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
to the bylaw. Yeah.
okay. So I move that 67 Elsinore Street is not preferably preserved. Should not be preferably preserved.
Do I hear a second? Any seconds?
Oh,
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
aye.
Well, do we need a roll call vote?
Um,
If so, I reluctantly vote aye. It makes me sad.
Aye.
Aye.
And Alan, I vote aye.
There you go.
But I think you're all set, Mark.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
And that's it. Thanks again.
The next order of business are the candidates for the associate member positions for the Historical Commission. Ian, do you have any particular order that we want to introduce the candidates?
Sorry, no, I didn't have any particular order, so.
Okay. Dan Frost, do you want to go first?
Sure. What would you like to know?
Everything about you.
Just
All
a
right.
little, just a little bit about you.
I was born on the other side of White Pond at an old dairy farm. that was in our family since the 1800s. It was and then I had moved to Sudbury when my grandfather sold that to Sperry Rand in 1960, and my grandfather moved to Belmont in a house that has been in my family since 1763.
Oh, wow.
And if you go by the historical district in Belmont, there's a sign there, and that first, right at the sign there is our house, and it's Stephen Frost House, and there's a monument in front of that, a stone monument. He was a Revolutionary War hero. And when I got out of college, I lived in that house and helped restore it. So that got my interest in historical buildings. And
Wow.
since then, I started a painting business, and that has been my profession for the last 40 years. And we've worked on quite a few historic buildings. And my father went to school in Concord. He went to high school at the old Emerson Umbrella.
Oh,
So we have quite a history in the town. And I'm very interested in helping preserve the history of the town. That's it in a nutshell.
Mhm. And you've lived in town?
Since 1995.
Any questions from the commissioners?
no.
No?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go next to Lauren.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Meyer. I'm a very new resident to Concord, having lived for many decades in Belmont. And in fact, funny you should mention the Frost House, because I was chair of the Historic District Commission in Belmont for many years.
Oh,
So
wow.
I know that house well, and it's, been a pleasure to work with Dan, with your family over the years.
Cool.
I am trained as a landscape architect, but I have a specialty in historic preservation. And I've worked in both public and private practice, including work with the National Park Service, which is how I know Nancy Nelson, and also in private practice and in kind of semi-academia. So I've published a number of books on Frederick Law Olmsted. I mean, I've made my life work in the preservation of cultural landscapes all over the nation. I've written National Register, National Historic Landmark nominations, dealt with Section 106. I wrote the demolition delay bylaw for Belmont. I ran the historic inventory for, so I had many years working in Belmont. In Belmont, there isn't a separation between Historic District Commission and Historic Commission. Those responsibilities are all melded into one committee, because, Belmont doesn't have quite the diversity of resources that Concord has. But I'm so happy to be here in Concord. Really delighted. Alan, I think you were responsible for, the lovely place that I live in now. And
Interesting.
which I'm very grateful for. And I'm currently working with Krista Collins on the Concord 250 Tree Committee, and
Yeah.
having a lot of fun working with her and that committee. So I'm just starting to get my feet wet a little bit, and love to help out in any way I can. Happy not to be chair, I can tell you that.
Well, your time will come.
Yeah.
I would also like to just say that, well, once this is over, we would really like to get you more involved, as speaking for Ann and Alan. I hope this is okay with the preservation plan, because the implementation of that, right now we're, just going through the process of developing it, but there will be a lot of to-dos once it's been adopted, and you will be a big help, because You know, I think speaking for myself anyway, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I just love Concord, so.
Yeah,
welcome.
great.
Right.
Thank you.
I think this is terrific. We're gonna have a great time.
Great.
Any other comments or? Let's go to Doug, Mr. Ellis.
Okay, I can take myself off of mute.
Mhm.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Doug Ellis. I've been a Concord resident for 16 years, I think. And my wife, born and raised, so she makes up for any deficit that I may have. Absolutely in love with the town. There's just so much depth in the history that we've got. It just runs broad and deep. Professionally, I'm a technical program manager, project manager, which has nothing to do with history, but I just adore the history of the town. I'm a Mason in town. I've been Master of the Lodge twice. I'm currently president of the Building Association at 58 Monument. I was captain of the Minutemen for 3 years, still an active member of the Minutemen.
Oh.
Know the national park very well.
Yep.
Have a lot to say. It's kind of a love-hate relationship, mostly hate at this time of the year.
Oh,
Oh, they make it tough.
we should have coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. Also my 1812 Marine on the Constitution. So you know, once the history bug bites you, it's just you just can't learn. I'll perennially be a student and just like soaking up Bob Gross's words of wisdom, and you know, work with him. He's delivering a paper on Freemasonry at Berkeley this weekend.
Oh.
Actually,
wow.
that we've been going back and forth on, but I've, you know, given him all of the records that we've got for the last 225 years. So we have all of our meeting minutes, so we can go back, you know, back in any period he wants to choose, you know, wants to see what's going on in the town. So we've got all that information. But yeah, live in Concord Green, not stone's throw from Melissa. And yeah, just honored to be here.
Doug, are you a Masonic historian as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's so great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually updated the Corinthian Lodge history book 14 years ago. It's due for another update. But there was some because Louis A. Surratt wrote the bylaws in history in 1959, which is a magnificent book. I've got like 5 copies of it. And I didn't realize, but that was actually done as a commercial venture. He actually made money on selling the book, which he'd never be able to do today. Learned that from Bob Gross. But it's magnificent because it goes through not just the bylaws of the lodge, but a biography of all of the past masters and significant members of the lodge. And then a year-by-year accounting of all the new members, who were the officers, all the information up through 1859. So I attempted to do highlights, because I'm not going to do that for every year up until now, but I could at least do something for each one of the past masters up through the current age, and significant things that have happened with the building, because the building, its history alone is just absolutely fascinating.
Right.
I mean, I believe it's that location where the original courthouse was. Oh yeah, I also have my my tour guide license, which I've never exercised, but went ahead and got that just because I thought that would be fun to do sometime. But yeah, the building was originally right on the street, or where the sidewalk is. And William Hurd moved it back around 1878, moved it back 42 feet to where it is today. Yeah, the building itself is just all kinds of history, and we're doing our best right now to keep it up to you know, we did the repointing of the bricks a few years back with CPP money. Thank God. We replaced the roof a couple years ago. So the building is in great shape, and we've got some new renters now who are actually looking to chip in and redo the dining room, kitchen, air conditioning. So yeah, but it's like, okay, they throw in all these things and they say, well, here's my budget's $250,000, and they start adding it all up, and it's, a lot more than that. So
Well, that's the same with Simon W. in Lexington too. There's also
Yeah.
renters and
Yeah.
so when we're done talking town history, we can talk Masonic history.
yeah,
So,
Kind of overlaps.
it really does. And that's
Yes,
the
it
part
does.
that's, where I said there's so many stories and so many layers to the stories.
Right.
When you start getting into the people and the relationships, we start looking at the building history, and just like the Ball family that lived next door. Nehemiah Ball, I believe, was like a superintendent of the schools, and he's the one who didn't hear enough discipline from Thoreau. So he went over to kind of reprimand him to say, I'm not hearing enough of that. But it was his daughter who married William Hurd. So he ended up owning the building. So it's all intertwined.
Mhm. Mhm. And a lot of the layout and development of the land is intertwined as well.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
So.
Yep.
Okay. Beth Van Duzer's next. There she
Hello.
is.
So my name is Beth Van Duzer. I'm from New Jersey, so I've only lived in Massachusetts 24 years, most of it on the North Shore. We moved here before the pandemic. And I have to say, Concord is a magical place to live. My children's only complaint is we did not move here earlier because they want to have their friends longer than they had them when they were here. So if teenagers can say that about a town, it's a good thing. And I have an undergraduate in English. I have a master's in history. And I am also slightly obsessed with the history of Concord. Being from New Jersey, like you move here and you don't understand, like people live their history. It's still part of the town, and it's not from where I am from how it happened. So it definitely sucks you in, and then people realize that, and then they talk to you and have you join committees, and that kind of thing. So that's what I have to say.
And here you are.
And here I am. Yeah,
But that's kind of what we do. We just kind of.
we're all starry-eyed.
Okay, and any questions for Beth from anyone or?
No, we're just gonna say that Beth has been very instrumental in certainly the work for the Civil War Monument. I think all of us know that you've reported to us, and you've also spoken at our
Mhm.
historical topics thing that we do once a month. So actually, can I ask where that stands?
They are making the plaque right now. So there's a foundry in Maine that is working with the Maine person who was awarded the contract, and it is being made. That's all I know. I suggested a field trip. I'm happy to. It's in Elliott, Maine. It's really close in my opinion. So I'm happy to go look at it.
Well,
Lobster roll. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dan. So I think we're good for now, and then we just have to process the applications. Isn't that so, Ann?
We take a vote?
I think we do, but I don't know if they're to be here or not when we take the vote, or if it's proper to take a vote when they're here, or we
They're
can.
adults.
I'm
Well-
happy to log off if that makes everyone more comfortable.
Well,
Black kids involved.
Anne may have stepped away for a second. There she is.
Oh,
Melissa knows more about the process than I do, I think.
Oh,
I think we have, my understanding is we have nominated we have 4 positions. We have nominated 4 candidates.
wonderful.
We all have received their CVs, their
resumes.
resumes.
Mhm.
I think it's just a matter of voting them in.
Then I guess I would call for a motion to accept the applicants as associate members of the Historical Commission.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? We can take a roll call.
Aye.
aye?
Aye, Nancy.
Aye. So be it.
So then I think, they just.
Welcome aboard.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We're glad to have you all. This is
Thank you.
going to be terrific.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you for
no,
inviting us.
Anne
great
Anne
group.
is trying to say something, but I can't hear what she's saying over us. What?
I think there is a process with the select board, right? They first.
It's a recommendation to the select board. Ah, that.
So, yeah, so you move it to them, and then eventually the select board will present your name and vote, and then the town clerk will reach out to you.
I think isn't
That makes
just
sense.
a rubber stamp at this point.
Got it.
Well, yeah, you need to,
The binding contract.
pledge allegiance to Concord.
Right.
Well, And Anne, will you let us know when that happens so we know when we're
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
reach out to them tomorrow.
great?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is-
Terrific. Welcome aboard.
So as you probably all know, or maybe you don't, but we found out this year that in fact we could expand the size of our commission. And there's a lot of work to be done. So it was a thrill to find 4 such terrifically qualified people. To do all the work that we were just looking at.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Don't tell them that yet. They haven't been blessed by the select board.
well, I think they will be.
I was thinking of a party.
And I
that-
second
That is more than a quorum, Nancy. How do
And
you
I
manage a
second that.
party?
We can have a party and not talk business.
Right.
We're not forbidden to talk.
We're in the planning stages of that, Nancy.
Yeah, we are. Waiting for better weather. Okay,
Okay,
Awesome.
Okay,
awesome.
thank you.
thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Uh,
bye-bye.
Moving along, we have a historical marker application. The applicants are here.
Hello.
Scott,
Yeah. I wasn't aware that I'd be presenting, so I don't have anything prepared, but I'm here and observing.
Oh.
I can say words if I need to, though.
okay.
Well, I mean, I read through it. I think, first of all, I think it's great because we haven't had a lot of applications this past year and, which is kind of disappointing. So I personally was thrilled to see this. I guess my question for you would be, what do you propose to put on the plaque?
Yeah, I had I don't have it in front of me. I believe there was a name. I know it was D was the last name. Was it John D? And then I had, based on my research, said occupation farmer and then year built 1890, but based on an email I got, maybe it was you that sent it to me. 2 days ago I got an email from
Anne, probably.
And maybe.
she had done additional research and she had said it wasn't actually John D. It was she thought it was the 2 sons that John D. lived next door and he built this house. We just purchased the house like 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And it's half a house. It's been condoized.
Yeah.
So the research was that the dad actually built it for his 2 sons, which were like John and Jacob. One was a gravedigger and one was a hairdresser. I don't think we wanted gravedigger.
I thought that was so interesting.
Make
though.
us sad when we're walking into our house. So maybe not that, but maybe we would just say the names of the 2 sons and the year built might be plenty.
But I was thinking
But
of the family circa.
yeah, that's fine.
90. I don't know, because
Yeah.
it's multiple generations of the D family, right? And they are an important family in Concord.
Yeah, certainly. I think D family and the year built is great for me if that works for the committee.
I saw Anne's hand up.
Yes,
And after she has her say, I was just gonna say I was confused. I was a little confused. I didn't end up understanding how the house would actually be named, but maybe she has an idea.
Ann?
Right, so I think, you know, D family circa 1890 would cover it. I just let Scott know that the house history is a little bit tricky because the census didn't, you know, have numbers that year, and then there are maps that are missing, but I thought maybe, isn't the D family still in town? Do you all know them, and maybe
Mhm.
you could get more information from them, right? They probably know their house history better than anyone.
That's to Scott, right? Asking Scott.
Right.
I mean, I can reach out to them too.
Do you know them?
Yes,
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That would actually be fun to round out the story.
okay. Scott, I could do that. So,
Again, there's not much room to put much on there beyond
Yeah,
D family circa 1890 or whatever, but
right. I probably wouldn't change what's on the plaque. I guess if they said, but it seems unlikely that they'd say, oh no, we know it was built in 1891.
Yeah.
I mean, it's within a fairly tight
Oh.
window when it was built. We don't know it was 1890 because I think there was whatever, we know it wasn't before 1889, right? Because it wasn't on a 1889 map, and then by whenever the next map was, it was there. But so I think the only open is it's not certain it was built in 1890. It could have been like 1891 or 1892 or whatever.
So
I don't know.
Just use
Circa.
PA period.
I'm
Circa,
sorry.
that's why circa covers a lot of territory.
right.
Yeah. Good for me.
okay. Do we vote on this, Ann, or do we?
Sure.
Does it have to go to the town, to the select board for?
No. We vote on it.
Okay. So do we have a motion for? Historical marker?
Well, do you want to talk to the D family before you make I mean,
Sure, I can, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I
Mhm.
just thought D family circa 1890 covers it, but maybe you might want to.
Scott, that wouldn't slow you down for any reason, right? I mean, you guys are new, trying to figure out your house. Does
I mean,
that
I don't.
cause you any
I'm
problem?
not, I guess what would I process wise would be the steps, I guess.
Well, the only you're waiting for a name to be put on it, and I think it's still fabricated by Billy Crosby. I don't know who actually, Anne, I need your help on this one because it's changed over the years. Who actually?
Yes, I think it's Billy Crosby.
Billy Crosby. So I don't quite remember exactly how much it is, a couple $100 or something. And then you have a choice of either the North Bridge or there are two
West Concord is the other one.
Your
so-
designs.
well, that West Concord. So you don't want West Concord, given that you're not in West Concord. So you probably pick the North Bridge image and
Yeah.
then the wording.
Right.
What is the actual size of the sign?
It's about 2 feet or I don't know, 1.5 feet.
Okay,
A little over a foot.
why don't, Scott, is there a way I can get a hold of you after I talk to the D family?
Sure. If you want to give me your contact info, I could contact you if you like. I can also give you mine.
And I have his email address too.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just work through Ann then on that,
Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect.
yeah,
That's neat.
okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
So we'll be back in touch.
Good to meet you.
Thanks,
Likewise.
Scott.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, Wright Tavern. the update by the representatives. Who's here on behalf of the Right Tavern?
Oh, actually, Alan, you had asked to remove that from this week's agenda.
Oh, okay, that's,
Because the agenda was already quite full, so they're gonna be
Right.
on the next agenda.
Oh, okay.
And they did invite you for a site visit, so we're trying to
Oh,
send
that's right.
that email out today.
Yeah, okay. Because we've already seen the permits in the window, so. Yes.
They've done great stuff so far. Minutemen had a meeting over there in December. And it was really cool just to be in the building and the different spaces and see what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
I saw your picture in the Globe, I think, and that's what made me really curious to go see what they're doing, because we haven't heard anything from them for a very, very, very long
Wow.
time.
They have
So
a lot planned
to
for
see-
Patriots Day.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Minutemen, we're gonna have breakfast there or outside before the parade.
Oh, fun.
And then they're having like a Sam Adams event midday. So they're planning like a sign, you know, Sam Adams drank here. Drink Sam Adams here.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
It sounds like a lot of fun. So yeah.
Have you seen the inside recently to know, is it all sort of buttoned
No.
back up from the structural work that they were doing?
No, last I saw it was in December.
Oh, okay.
So I think probably the last time a representative has been in there was either when we were in there, Nancy, or Melissa when we were in there.
It was shortly after they proposed the pocket park,
Mhm.
whenever that was,
Right,
It's a very large granite thing. I
yes,
see, Gary.
yes, so. All right, so moving along to parcel 1693, considerations, archaeological considerations for digging for the 350th in Concord Center. So I think we talked about this briefly, but I'd like some input from the commissioners on this.
I think I can start. I would really like to see what the design for the proposed memorial is and where it's located and how it's located, and more than that one public forum where the I guess current was conceptual design, but it's now moving towards construction documents. And I think we should have some kind of an archaeological assessment. It's by professionals to understand that site a little better. I was interested to learn that the Masonic building was set way back and used to be right up close by the road. And that might be the same thing with the buildings that have occupied 1693. So I think it would be within our scope of responsibility to find out a little bit more about what's under the ground there before, there's a 120-foot long granite wall that's going in, that's going to require substructure and a path in the middle. And then columns on the edge of the site. So it's been disturbed in the past, but it's just not exactly clear how it all comes together, at least in my mind.
And we don't know if the town has received drawings or, construction drawings for this yet.
I don't think there are any drawings or any substantive information available to the public. I don't know. I have no idea, but maybe Gary Clayton could explain what town DPW or other people or other committees already know about it, but I think the Historical Commission does not have, and the public does not have access to much information about what's being proposed.
Gary, can you shed some light on this at all, or?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Good, good. Yeah, so a couple things. Good evening to all. Yeah, I wanted to listen, hear the conversation this evening. So just by way of several points of clarification, the so parcel 1693 is a parcel of land that includes the existing war monuments. There's a small lawn area behind it. It includes the municipal parking lot behind Vanderhoof's, and then some portion of the wetland floodplain adjoining Mill Brook. I mean, that's parcel 1693 in its entirety. What we've been focusing on as part of the Concord 250th events and celebrations are the small lawn area that is bound by the driveway that serves the municipal parking lot, and then the Catholic Church property on the other side of it. So it's a small portion of 1693. I just want to make sure we're clear about that. And when you start looking at maps or plans, and you'll see the lot is has all these different aspects to it, but what we're focusing on is that lawn area. So that's point one. Number two, we continue to work on developing a conceptual plan. So just Nancy mentioned we were moving on to preparing construction documents. No, that's not yet the case. We are still looking to complete a conceptual design and hope to have that done by the end of this summer. And then to move beyond that will require funding, which we don't have at this point in time, to prepare construction documents and the like.
Gary, at the last meeting I was at, I thought I had a very clear message that the conceptual design was not going to change, and it was moving rather rapidly towards development and construction drawings, maybe not construction drawings, but conversations with potential providers and constructors. So I'm happy to hear that it might be still at the conceptual stage and subject to some modification of
Yeah,
some.
because I think an important part, again, we're not at a point to be even thinking about preparing construction drawings. We don't have the monies for that. So that's
Right.
not going to happen. In order to, part of the conversation you heard the other day related to some of the ideas we had about places we could go to see if there was funding interest, but that's still in the speculative stage at this point. The conceptual design, we've gone over the past year, have worked on developing a conceptual design. We've had 3 public meetings, had some excellent feedback on that, and we've made adjustments to that overall concept. What we're still working on, particularly right now, is what we want to focus on over the next few months is some of the narrative that we would want to incorporate into the elements that would be part of the memorial on the site. So the columns or the still life, depending on whatever term of art you want to use, and also on the wall itself. That's still all to be developed. And that's kind of what we're focusing on over the next several months to get that part done.
So just to be clear, I think you're saying you're focused on the narrative and developing some of the content, but that the basic design that was only shown at the last January public forum has not changed and will not change.
Well, it hasn't changed since then.
Right. That's
I'm not saying that it won't change because, again, it's still a work in progress, and perhaps there may be some changes that will result from some of the work we do relative to what I'm calling the narrative messages that we want to embed or incorporate into the design. So I don't want to, we have a basic concept that we're comfortable with, but it's not etched in stone yet either. right? It's still a work in progress. So,
So to speak.
so to speak, yeah. I had to slip that one in. So, and then the other thing, and Ann and I have been had conversations, and then we communicated back and forth about the site. Again, when I talk about the site now, I'm talking about the small lawn area, and that a number of you have mentioned this evening that it's been altered over the centuries, including well into the 21st century. And part of what I guess I'm asking you to think about is to think about the nature and extent of those alterations that have occurred on the site, and those portions of the site that may have been subject to somewhat less alteration. And to try to be more specific, the lawn area is the locus of a very large subterranean stormwater management system that the town of Concord installed in around 2010. It's a large chamber, concrete chamber, sunk in the ground, about 12 to 13 feet in the ground. There are large stormwater mains that connect to that and then flow ultimately towards Mill Brook. The nature of those alterations was, I think it would not be an overstatement to say drastic, in terms of what happened to that portion of the site. So one of the things and I understand the point about wanting to see some more detailed site plans. Again, because this is conceptual design at this point, we don't have detailed survey plans. But what I'm hoping we can provide Ann with in the near future is a plan, again, still conceptual in nature, that shows the basic location of sitting areas, the monuments, and the wall on the site. You can then have the benefit of the detailed survey plan that was done as part of the stormwater management plan that was implemented, to begin to look at what portions of that site, of that lawn area, remain intact. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, because you've got, as I say, a massive subterranean stormwater management system in place, large underground pipes. You've got electrical conduits that also come across the site, and I think even where the old Middlesex Hotel was located when was removed in 1900, the cellar hole itself was filled by material that was brought in from off-site. So there's been some fairly major alterations to that site. So
Right.
what I'm hoping we can figure out is, where are those particular, and I know Ann has some thoughts about, there's some areas along the edge or the corners of the area that we're focusing on, this lawn area, that perhaps we want to look at more closely in terms of what, if any, archaeological resources might still be present in those areas that have not been, I'll just say, drastically altered.
Yeah.
And for preservation purposes for that stormwater management system, the 250th monument is going to have to be moved away from that in case they ever need to access that stormwater treatment.
That's exactly right, Alan.
So how far, it's got to go away from that in case they have to get at it.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. So we've had conversations with the Department of Public Works staff about to make sure we understood what the subterranean infrastructure looks like. And there's a reasonably detailed engineer plan that illustrates that. They need access, and there's special equipment they have to bring in to pump the large subterranean concrete chamber that's holding some of the effluent that's coming off the streets. So you're right, the areas where anything, and again, I think the wall may be it's a 2-foot high wall,
Right.
something at 20 inches high, that we're proposing that might run along the boundary, the common boundary with the Catholic Church property, which is next door. Um, that's that's a place where there would be, if that wall were we move forward with that aspect of the plan, we would have to dig a trench there that's whatever 30 inches deep or more to sort
4
of
feet.
4 feet to get below the frost line.
Okay, probably. And that may or may not have been disturbed, I guess.
That's I think that's a question is how much, if any, that's been disturbed. My assumption is that the entire site, probably at least the first foot or two, has been disturbed one way or another over the years with the buildings that have been there.
Well,
But
for the demolition of the hotel, that would have probably been a big excavation. But that's what we don't know. And none of
right.
us
Yeah.
You
So
know,
I guess
an archaeological assessment by professionals would be a prudent step for the historical commission to take.
I'm also mindful, remember when we were learning about Wright Tavern, how the road was much lower? Right?
Mhm.
I don't know that, because that's
And it was filled
that's
in.
across the street. I understand that, but there were the living level was much different then. So just curious how that might affect it. And I will forever ask the question. I just would hate to have lost in all of this where Thoreau's night he spent in jail. I do ask this. I know it's back behind maybe the parking lot, but I don't want it lost in all of this.
So what I think the historical commission should do is to request an archaeological assessment. Well, first of all, to request the designs, whatever Gary is on paper for what is known as the conceptual plan now.
Mhm.
CHC to request those because they're not available elsewhere. And then to request an archaeological assessment, which is not like it's not like a big investigation, it's an assessment. And I think that would be a prudent thing to do and not onerous. And
And I guess, Nancy, on that, again, I think it will be important for the commission to define the physical area of that, because that's where we may have to agree to disagree, because there are portions of that site, as I said, that have been literally been removed from the premises. So
well, I would like to leave that to an archaeologist. It would take an archaeologist a minute to say yes or no to that, to your theory.
Well, it's not a theory. I'm looking at the engineer plans.
No, but that's
management
okay.
system.
But that's what happened.
That's where we have the most detailed information, and
yeah,
that alteration was substantial. So that's my point. I mean, what's to be learned or gained by digging down several feet and finding the concrete chamber for the storm?
I don't think you have to do a lot of digging in an assessment. So I think we should look at what that means. I think I would just feel better if archaeologists would weigh in on this. I think it's absolutely clear the area has been disturbed, and not to mention the road that runs through it. I don't know that
right. Yeah, that's right.
But there still may be information to know, and I think it's just a prudent thing for the historical commission to request.
I think an archaeologist could take a look at that in a matter of a few moments, and he could
Maybe
make
more,
a judgment.
maybe a little more.
He could make a judgment on it,
but anyway, I would like the commission to request an archaeological assessment of some type to just be certain what's free and clear. And the largest and most heavy feature of the proposed concept plan runs in an area which is most likely to be less disturbed. Is that correct, Gary, in your opinion?
Well, I think would be the area of focus of the assessment.
But I agree with Alan that it might be fairly quick for an archaeologist to understand what I know is a matter of record for the disturbance in other parts of the site.
Yeah. No, I think that, looking at that area where the wall is proposed is probably that's what we have to look at more closely. I would agree. And I think that's where would be helpful to have some form of an assessment.
But there's also the seating area that runs right through the middle of the site, and that requires some kind of foundation. And the stele, or I can't bring myself to say that, the columns at the sidewalk.
Yep.
You never know what's really under there until you take a look. So, or an archaeologist could say, just forget about it. It doesn't matter.
Well, Gary, you say you have a lot of documentation from the Engineering and Public Works. Is this not something, wouldn't these be documents that an archaeologist could review? I wouldn't know what I was looking at, but an archaeologist would.
They would certainly be able to look at the engineered plans that were prepared for the stormwater management system, which again includes this large subterranean concrete holding chamber.
Yeah.
And then there are two very large conduits that collect the stormwater from around Monument Square and run into the tank. And then there's another, and then there's these large pipes that take the effluent from the tank and they take it away from the site and it drains down towards the Mill Brook. So Melissa, those engineered drawings are available and provide a good starting point in terms of getting a sense of, well, here's where, because you remember when they put that concrete chamber in, my guess is, given that it's somewhere between 12 and 13 feet into the ground, when you do the excavation, you have to assume whatever it is, like a 45-degree slope to the hole.
That's the other thing that would be useful, would be a grading plan.
Right.
So
I don't know, Nancy, I honestly don't know whether that exists or not. It may be more, I'm speculating whether you talk to the town engineer and say, what's the standard engineering practice when you put that kind of feature into the ground? What's the likely area of excavation around it that's going to be affecting the parcel that the chamber is being located in?
Yeah, that you have to be careful of when you're trying to put something.
But usually when they do this, they just did one of those around the corner from my shop. But they didn't go too far around the perimeter of the holding tank. And the one in Concord, that's all gravity fed, Gary, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's right, Alan.
Right. The one they just put in is it's got pumps in it with a generator and everything, so it doesn't back up. But it's probably like a circumference of like 20 feet, maybe around.
I'm guessing that sounds right to me. If what I've heard is that you would need roughly a 45% slope to the the area that the chamber occupies, and then you would just calculate the 45% slopes away from that. That's the area that an excavator would need to operate. Again, I'm getting way above my pay grade. That that's where, again, someone like a town engineer could provide it.
That's my point.
Critical. Well, I think that, but I think that's where a town engineer could provide a credible.
And I'm guessing, Gary, that they did not do any archaeological work there.
None that's been brought to my attention, and I would defer to Anne if there's anything in the town records. My sense is that the work that's going on on parcel 1693 or adjacent to it, that there hasn't been any sort of archaeological resource survey done.
And so we also don't know what's going to happen with the Thoreau marker, and that whole area back there becomes more and more vulnerable. Further back you go, I think.
More vulnerable in, how do you mean, Nancy?
Well, just that marker's been there undisturbed for a long time.
Yeah, I think that was put in like 1942. And so our thoughts are that marker remains. Now, whether it remains in that location,
Mm,
that I think we should all have a conversation about, because I've always felt it was put in the most obscure
Yes.
location, and other
totally.
than the town license guides who can bring people there to it, otherwise I think it sort of gets lost.
Yeah, I was
Maybe-
hoping it would be part of the memorial thinking.
Well, it is. It certainly in terms of
That's all.
recognizing
Okay, not so far.
proximity of the jail site, what Henry David, he wrote about that, and that marker, as I say, whether I think we want to have it be more prominently located in that
Good.
space, right? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I was just saying my bias is that its current location does not do it justice.
No, yeah, and we're getting into design and off the archaeological
Yeah, I
assessment.
understand.
But if
Okay.
it would be helpful, I would make a motion that the CHC should ask for an archaeological assessment. I think we could put some specific detail to what we think an assessment would include. And in addition to that, just request whatever drawings and designs exist. Anne may already have some of those historical documents, I'm not sure. But that would definitely be helpful for an archaeologist looking at the site as a whole.
Yep.
And in terms of where to put certain things to avoid any further disturbance.
And Anne has done a lot of work. I want to, give her credit for
Yeah,
the
I know.
research she has done. Again, the engineer plans are readily, I think we may have already provided those to her, but if not, we can do so. Those are readily available from the Concord Public Works Department.
Well, I'm going to make a motion then, if that's all right, Alan.
Yeah, I think that's protocol, Ann, right? And I just want to make sure we're in the right, we can do that, right?
I think so.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that the Concord Historical Commission officially requests the latest designs on the ground of what is proposed by what's called still a concept plan, but seems to be moving forward rather quickly. We don't have to put that in. But so request the most current plans and information about what will go where. And also request a general archaeological assessment of the entire site. So when we go to think about relocating Henry David Thoreau's plaque or actually locating that 120-foot long granite wall, that we know what we're doing. And also in the center of the site where seating is proposed, that also needs some kind of foundation and digging up. And how does that affect what's underneath it in terms of the stormwater, wastewater system that's been put in? So that's my motion without all the extravagant things around it.
Mhm. Do I hear a second?
Well, I think I'll offer a second. I think we need to simplify it a little bit, but
Yeah,
I
it didn't
do
need all
feel as the local historical commission, we are expected to do due diligence with regard to archaeology. And I do not know what an assessment in that. Nancy and Alan, you seem to feel it is a relatively
Well, you're
straight-
not going to send people out there with, I will consult with an archaeologist or get you a definition, but it's a less extensive look at the resources.
Yeah. Which
would
one?
include an analysis of the documentation that Gary is going to provide to us. That
Yeah,
will take more
an
time.
archaeologist would use those things.
It's not going to delay anything.
Alan, since this is still under discussion, can I offer a
Yes.
suggestion?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Oh,
I wonder just, so I hear where the commission's at, and I understand, and generally support what you're aiming to do. I find it decanted the motion to be vague, and I wonder, as an alternative, in order to keep this moving along, whether it might make sense to ask or direct Anne to work with the subcommittee that's been looking at this site to come up with, what in Ann's opinion may be a useful proposed course of action, getting at what the concepts or the concerns that the commission's articulated tonight, and then bring it back to the commission for your review, and then a vote on what specifically you're looking for and asking for.
I'm not exactly sure what's vague about that, but except for the definition of an assessment.
Yeah, that's pretty, I think that's
but-
pretty significant.
But certainly it needs to be site-wide. And I don't think it's that complicated to have to go back to staff, but that's another whole month. But whatever, I made a motion.
not
it's
gonna
on the
be-
floor.
yeah,
I don't
we're-
know if the motion's been seconded or not yet.
Well, do we have a
Well,
second?
I guess I think for purposes of the minutes, I think we need to make, the motion needs to be, could you restate it maybe? Because
Yeah. Make a motion that the CHC should request the most current designs of the location, etc., for the concept plan for the memorial. And to request an archaeological assessment of the entire site to guide decisions going forward as to where to locate certain elements that are being proposed in the concept plan. Is that too many words?
I would defer to Anne on that, but I think I could second that. But I will say to Gary and Nancy, I don't know what an assessment constitutes because I don't, none of us is an archaeologist, so I don't know what that means.
I'll figure that, yeah.
I think more a review by an archaeologist.
Anne, are you there? I mean, I know that we talked it sort of informally, a concern about what may lie beneath there. I hear clearly what Gary is saying, that over the years, there's been a lot of disturbance.
Which
but-
we agree.
But it's still a very important parcel of land, and it has, I mean, it's also the general area where the famous Jethro's, famous or not, Jethro's tree.
Or
So
infamous.
it is a critical piece of property in this town. So I think if it's not that onerous a project, I think it's worth asking.
Well, you could add pending an understanding of what an archaeological assessment means.
Okay, I would add that, and then I would say second.
So we have it seconded. We can take a vote. Roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? No one opposed. So I think, do we bring that to the select board, or do we give it to Gary's committee, or we sit with Ann and drop some specifics?
First order of business would be to define more correctly or more specifically the archaeological assessment, and then see what that involves. And then it's a conversation with the Permanent Memorial Subcommittee, I think, on how to get it done. Depending on what Ann might think about that.
Once again, we once had an archaeologist on this commission, and that's, each meeting, we realized what a loss his
Yeah.
departure, big hole.
So maybe he's the first call.
Right,
Alan's working on that.
exactly, yep.
Okay.
Probably spends most of the time in Connecticut.
That's too bad.
So, yeah. Okay.
But in the meantime, we could be getting those other background documents and the up-to-date ideas on paper or
Mhm.
elsewise about where the current conceptual plan stands.
Yeah. Gary, do you know, do those drawings exist in the planning board or the planning department or the
Not yet.
facilities or?
The plans for the plans for the work that's been done in terms of the stormwater management system, they exist in the engineering department of
Engineering,
Public
okay.
Works. What Nancy's also speaking to are again, I'll call it the conceptual designs that the subcommittee has been working on in terms of the memorial. So I'm working on getting that document together and can get it over to Anne, I think, in the not too distant future.
Well, even what you currently have, I mean, some things were shown in January, but
Yeah, that's what it'll be. It'll be.
they're not precise. But if the thinking could change depending on what an archaeologist might read.
Yeah. So it'll be based on what was presented at the last public forum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you got so far. So that's great.
Yeah. So and I'll look and see. I'll have to see whether I have on my computer the engineered plans for the stormwater system and the like.
I thought I saw those somewhere.
Well, you have. Yeah, you.
Joe
I'm sure you
Hibbard
have.
maybe
And
has them.
I'm
Joe
sorry?
Hibbard maybe had them.
Let me take a look. I'll look myself and see what I have.
Well, I would just ask.
Excuse me. If I can't put my hands on them, they're at Public Works. So
Yeah.
they're readily available, and all this information I'll forward to Anne, and then I'll leave it to Anne to distribute to the commission.
We want to keep this moving ahead. We want to keep it going as well. So
Yeah, and be mindful, just a footnote, Public Works is doing some engineering planning work on the sidewalk and pedestrian crossings in and around Monument Square. And that includes the sidewalk that goes along this portion of the site.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's a complete streets project, is it?
I don't know, Nancy, if I'll describe what I understand. I don't know if it's part of the complete streets project, but
probably not enough room.
There's a number of sidewalks and particularly pedestrian crossings that do not meet ADA requirements. So there's an effort on the part of the town, as I understand it, to try to correct those, and then in some places to widen the sidewalks modestly, but nonetheless widen them to just accommodate the level of pedestrian traffic, as well as, I assume, any kind of accommodation that would fulfill ADA requirements along those sidewalks.
That's interesting in terms of impacts on the central green space where the other monument is, where the Civil War monument is.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not quite sure how far. I just know that all the sidewalks all around the square and the pedestrian crossings are being looked at.
Wow.
But I don't know about where the Civil War monument is. I don't know. So and don't take it any further than that. I simply don't know.
And
Got
the town is funding that?
that means the lodge is going to lose more sidewalk, Doug.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I don't know if it was more. The sidewalk, the sidewalk really needs repair.
The pedestrian crossing between the Colonial Inn coming over towards the lodge, that does not meet ADA standards. So there will have to look at it.
Be interesting to see. There's a whole suite of signs that goes along with a lot of this.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So
I mean, Alan Cathart's the person you want to talk to about that. I just want to alert you to the fact that there's some work that's planned around there that would touch on a portion of parcel 1693.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just to complicate it further. no, just actually help us all work our way through this. So,
Well, what I wouldn't want what I wouldn't not want to see happen, Gary, is that they dig up the stormwater management system and say, oh, well, now we need to put a generator in there because we have so much rain and water runoff now that we have to use a pump to keep it going.
yeah, I take your point, Alan, and I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't even speculate what
Yeah.
might happen, but that's a question best directed to Public Works.
Right,
In that regard. So, okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yep,
Gary.
thank you all for your
Yep.
thoughts and feedback, and we will stay in touch.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Phew, complicated little town.
Yes, it is. Moving on to the 106 review, the antenna installation. Old 1333 Old Road to 9 Acre Corner.
So I have a question, maybe Ann can answer this.
Yeah.
Is this just a replacement or is this because they already have an antenna? Don't they?
Right, I asked for additional information, and they haven't provided it. I've reached out to them twice and let them know that you have a meeting tonight. So all we have is, what is up on the website.
So if I've got my antennas in the right place, this is the application where we saw 2 aerial photographs.
Correct.
Yes, it's Emerson
Yeah,
Hospital.
so
It's
it's
off
hard.
Emerson Hospital.
Yeah, and you've requested further information on what that's going to look like and what it's going to entail.
Exactly. Right.
I mean,
More specific.
since I believe they already have antenna up there that no one has objected to, and it is essential to their operation, I would have no objection.
Should we know what they're talking about?
Well, it's a community, as it says. it's
I
an
would
existing-
agree with the need. I would agree with the need, but should we know what we're talking about?
Is it a new cellular tower or
Well, they call it a telecommunications facility. I don't know, what is the difference?
That's why we should know.
yeah?
That's why.
I don't know because the doctors still complain there's no cell coverage in Concord.
That's awful. Yeah, it's an awful.
Notorious, it's tough in the hospital since I worked there a long time. Yeah, it is.
And the police station and the
Right.
fire department.
Well, it's
But
just
we
hospital.
just installed one in Waltham and it's for miles radius around where it was installed. So is this going to increase coverage or?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, Anne, I'm curious, are you trying to get a hold of the people at TriLeaf or someone at the hospital?
Trialing.
Right, TriLeaf.
I think it might be smarter on our part if we reached out to someone at the hospital, facilities manager like Bob Drake. Well, he at least would tell you what it is.
But they actually assigned that to another company to do the.
Yeah, but don't we, but we want to know what it is. I'd rather go directly to the source.
Well,
That's-
he could probably supply what the company is doing.
Should we give them a call or?
Well, if it's okay, I will just try to reach out to the facilities manager at the hospital
Sure.
and I'll.
Okay, but you're in the middle of a 106 process, so.
I understand that, but I'm trying to find out information, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they should be responsive, I would think.
So, it's disappointing that this outfit from Maryland is not responsive.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
I can try calling too. I just emailed, but I see now that she did provide a phone number, so I can give her a call.
Okay,
So double team them.
Okay,
and we can put this on for next month or whenever we have our next meeting.
April 11th.
Sure, yes.
Everyone good with that? Okay,
Yes.
all right. Neshoba Brook to Warner's Pond. And is this for, are you gonna do this or?
Yes. So I did share this, didn't I? But I can bring it up on the screen.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. And I actually added a slide today, so it's just, I'm on the Warner's Pond Task Force, and there's been some discussion there, people have been doing research and learned that there were dams in this area back in the 17th century. So they assumed that there was always a pond there in the 17th century, but I thought it would make sense to gather maps together and just let the maps speak for themselves. So here's, the geology and the native landscape. This is from Brian Donahue's Great Meadow. This is Native American trails, and of course they also traveled through the waterways. So here is the approximate location of the current Warner's Pond at the intersection of Neshoba Brook and the Aspet River. It's just kind of interesting that these two, it connects Neshoba and Concord, and of course Matunish, or Jethro, who was present at the founding of Concord, he was from Neshoba. And also once the English settlers came to Concord, the native people who lived there returned, or relocated to Neshoba. So it's just, thought that was interesting. And then here is a conjectural map from the 17th century published by Ruth Wheeler, and that's from also Charles Walcott in 1884, and then again in 1967 this map was published. And then there's these fun quotes, I think fun, history nerd, from the deed back in 1672 about Smedley's Brook, and here we see Neshoba Brook being called Smedley's Brook, and this is the approximate location of the Warner's Pond. And then the map from 1754, again the approximate location of Neshoba. Sorry, this is Neshoba Brook here, the Aspet River here, and then Warner's Pond areas here. And then back into sort of modern times in the 1830s, there was a dam here at this point and even earlier, but and the river is slightly wider here, probably because of that short dam, and it looks as if there's a small island here in the and of course surrounded by marsh and wetlands. And then again in 1852 you see it evolve again. Clearly there's a dam at this location. In 1856 still it's this sort of small body of water. And then in the late 19th century, after Wright raises the dam, he raises the dam on Neshoba Brook, he creates Warner's Pond. And so this is when you actually do begin to see the actual pond. So I just thought that would be helpful for everyone to see and make their own decisions based on the evidence. So I'd like to just bring it before the commission and have if you have input, please provide it. I think that this is probably going to be like a working document, but I thought it would make sense to start with just the very basics, just the images, just the quotes from material that's already been, vetted by the commission in the past. Sorry, I didn't realize my video was off, but any comments?
Can you make that available to us somehow? Because I'm not going to remember every map.
Well, I think it's on our I've seen it.
Already up? Is it already up on our, is it really?
I circulated it. I wasn't sure about.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll go back and find it.
I don't want to confuse people if,
I think it's interesting. For
Yeah.
sure.
And there was no real pond there until the Pale restarted, right? Till the,
Put a dam there.
right.
I understand, yeah.
Well, the dam was there, but they just kept the river running,
And they raised it.
and then they raised it to stop it.
Right, when they raised the dam sometime after 1856, that's when the pond was formed.
And when was the first building for the Pale, the bucket factory?
The lead pipe.
Was that in the 1800s?
And Forbes, I can bring it up.
The
Oh, do you? Oh, let me see. So he bought Loring's factory in the mid 1850s and converted it to a wooden tub and pail factory.
Yep, 1850s. Yeah.
1850s.
But it was so you see, Wright is here, Warner is here. So he's already there, but evidently he hadn't raised the and there's the Warner's Pail Factory. So it exists, but he didn't raise the dam immediately. It was only later. Oops.
That's cool.
Between
Because wasn't that all farmland back in the day, Ann?
I actually haven't done a ton of research on this. I just pulled things quickly from readily available resources.
One of the other images looked like the sort of cross-hatching stuff like wetlands. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
There, that one.
Yep, swamp.
Wetlands all around.
Swampy land.
Yep.
Glacial Lake Concord.
Right, so the superficial geography does show depressed areas left by the glaciers, and this shows that area as meadow and swamp, which
yeah,
by that 1830 map.
Fascinating stuff.
Well, it's interesting. Both Ann and I were at the Warner Pond. What is it? Friends of Warner Pond.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They've actually done a lot of research on the pond. Yeah.
Right, and they sort of verbally shared the research, but they didn't show the maps, and so it can be confusing when you don't have the physical evidence in front of you. But I think that this, the more information, the better, right? That's what historians do, is they dig, right?
Yep.
So just wanted to make sure you all saw this. I don't know if you want to, whether you want to take a vote on it and have it be officially approved by the Historical Commission, whether you're comfortable.
What would be
I work with you every day, and so wanted you to certainly know about it and be a part of it if you have suggestions.
I would feel not qualified to approve or disapprove it. I'm not a historian, and I think it's useful information to know. It's like Nancy's report. I'm not qualified to say yes or no, up or down on her report, but happy to receive it and know it's out there. So I think I'd look at this the same way.
I would agree with Nancy. I just think it's a part of the growing record of information that's been compiled.
Now you'll have that at the next meeting for the Warner Pond folks, right? Is
I wanted to share it with you all first.
Yeah.
and send it to them.
yeah, no, I think it's good stuff. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Do we have minutes from our last meeting that need to be approved at all?
December 14th.
I didn't see them, so I have, if they were there, I apologize. I did not read them.
They're December 14th minutes.
I know, but I'm saying I didn't.
Oh, I thought you meant from last meeting.
No. Has anyone looked over those?
I have.
No.
Maybe not enough of us.
Can you make a motion to approve the meetings or?
Well,
Mm,
if you've got a quorum for it, but I can't vote because I'm. I didn't know.
I peruse them. I can step in and vote if that's helpful.
Okay,
You know, the sooner they get approved, the sooner they get posted, so
Yep.
that's a benefit.
So I move that we approve the minutes of December 14th, 2023. I also read them and had no comments.
okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a vote. Roll call, members?
Nancy, yes?
Trustee, yes.
Alan, yes?
I
I'm
didn't read it.
abstaining.
Okay. It passes.
That's three of
Minutes-
us.
Minutes are approved. Do we have any new business? There's nothing posted. Can we do that, Ann?
Oh, Alan, I think I did add the chair's update because I think you were going to just update the commission on the status of Article 41.
Which is,
The select board, the select board meeting that we
oh,
attended.
the warrant,
Yes, the warrant.
the warrant. So the bottom line is that they withdrew the warrant from the town meeting. After Melissa's, Nancy's, myself were there. And Nancy and Melissa both got up and spoke. And Andrea
Mhm.
removed the warrant from the town meeting. So, and we're gonna continue to work with DEI in the historical preservation plan with Elizabeth Watson and Peter. And we're working closely with them, moving ahead. So,
Any town meeting member could also move Article 41. So we should just know that that could still come up at town meeting. But that the DEI commission would presumably not support it, and so it would be okay. But any member of town meeting could move Article 41.
I just asked real quick, Anne, I don't remember the date, but there's one of these Fridays coming up, the Elizabeth Watson will be having a meeting with us again, the Historical Commission, right, Anne? I don't have the dates in front of me.
Yes, let's see. So Elizabeth Watson is going to be coming up to Concord the week of April 22nd. And so we'll have a joint Historical Commission and HTC meeting on April 26th. And that's going to be really the first focus group meeting. It'll be probably a 2-hour meeting from possibly 10 to 12. And she was thinking, you know, or 9:30 or 9. I don't know if there's a preference with your group at all. Whether
I think that's the whole commission too, Ann, isn't it? Is it?
yes, it's the whole commission.
Right.
And hopefully we can include the new associate members. I don't know if they'd be able to
Be great.
at that point, but you know,
That would be great.
Yeah, because our first meeting was April 14th, isn't it? Or the next meeting?
11.
11th.
right. The
Yeah.
11th.
Yeah.
So it would be important. The other thing, just to announce, I'll send out, you know, this is not official, but the my Historical Topics Forum, I have asked Elizabeth Watson to present. She'll be the forum, basically, and then questions of her to present what the work that she and Peter are doing for us in the town. And she's going to use it as a basis for other public outreach that she will conduct. And I think a lot of the meeting on our 26th will be to discuss that. At least that's my understanding.
And we'll
Okay.
send out an agenda, of course. When we
Yeah, she's gonna come back for I think a couple times in April, right? Or she's gonna be here for a while or a couple of weeks in April. Elizabeth is. So. And we are through the planning stage, and now we're on to the survey stage, right? The second stage of the preservation plan.
we're starting to go into the public outreach phase.
Right.
It's been sort of quiet while they, you know, read through all of the documents and provide summaries. But now this is when they're going to start to, you know, really show their faces and be out there in the public.
Right. So this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We make a motion to adjourn after covering a lot this evening.
I move that we adjourn.
We can take a vote on adjournment for tonight.
You can just
Aye.
adjourn it.
Aye. Melissa?
I said aye.
Nancy? Right. Well, welcome to the new associate members. Look forward to working with you all.
Very interesting stuff. This is a great group.
And I am going to be kind of sad, Chessie. Is this going to be your last meeting, or?
No, I'll stay on, I guess, till the select board process is done. Does that sound okay?
Sure. Yeah, no,
Great.
absolutely.
Actually, you can join us anytime.
Yeah,
I will periodically. I sure will.
yeah,
Thank you.
that'd be terrific. All right, thank you. Well,
Thank
the
you.
meeting is now adjourned.